Thank you. The next part of our program is, I always think, the most moving part of our program. This is where we get to, hear from people that really have walked the walk. I'm delighted this year because what we have for our Parade of Transformation is the many artists who will be attending the conference and have their works on display, be performing here, and they're going to have this opportunity to talk to you about how their art has impacted their recovery.
Hi, my name is Brenda Steller. I am an artist and a participant of Sobriety Court. Wow, there's a lot more people here than what I thought there would be. Some of you actually I recognized from, some of you I've recognized from various programs like the Arms Weekend and the Class A training, and leaders of those things that have really helped me out through Sobriety Court and through the struggle with my addiction. And I quit doing art when I would use and when I'd go out. Art is really the only thing that got me through high school. It's the only thing that kept me in college, and it's the only thing that kept me busy and through the hardest parts. And art really helps me to find my character, and I lose that when I use. And since I've started doing it again, I don't know, it's been about 10 months, I think, since I really actually picked up the pencil and the paint again. And it has helped me more than anything could help me. And I find myself in the characters that I create, the owls, the butterflies, the lines, the dots, even the drips, even the little mistakes that I make. It's that's me, and that's where I find a lot of strength in myself. And I see it when it's done, and I'm like, oh, hey, yeah, you know what? That's me. That's my color. I'm like, it's the color how I'm feeling that day, and it comes out in like subconscious ways too, and it helps me to explain myself, because I can't with words as well as I can visually. But it's been useful, and it's been useful for the people who encourage me, the people who are like, hey, yeah, you know what, that's really good stuff. And I didn't have that with friends. I didn't have that. I'm really glad that I found it again, and it is probably what's going to keep me where I am and in this mindset. So, thank you, everyone.
Hi, my name is Gerald Butler. I started drinking when I was 11 years old. It was a way to call it self-medication, because it was the only way that I could stop the voices in my head. By 13, I was full-blown alcoholic. I spent most of my life on the street, over 30 years, in abandoned houses, totally and completely hopeless. I hated to see the sunshine coming up. When I finally got into recovery, I started working in the system, and as what they call a peer support or an advocate. And what I noticed was that with the people that I was working with, that no matter what, they would remind me every day that I was a crazy drunk, even though I was sober. And so I knew that deep down inside, I knew that I had to have something. There had to be something that I had that was valuable, that God had given me. And I remember before I started drinking, Mom had bought me a flute, and I was a pretty good flute player, even at that age. I guess I was born a musician. And so I picked up my flute because I was going to show these people that I had something. My music, they could not take that from me. But when I would come home from work upset and hurt, mostly hurt, and I would pick up my flute, and the next thing I know, it would be 3 hours later. And I would have forgotten totally and completely about what it was that was bothering me. And that's when I realized the healing powers, music and the arts have the power to heal. And so I started the first recovery band. This was about 6 years ago. So in the recovery band, it's a feeling, it's a certain feeling of you're special. Use your God-given talents. God has given you these talents. Use your God-given talents. And so when people would come and work with us, other addicts and people with mental illness would come and work with us, we would see them grow. We would actually see them blossoming before our eyes. And again, we saw the healing powers of the arts, because in that certain environment, what it is we just encourage you to be who you are. You cannot fix things. You cannot heal unless you know who you are first. And so we started something called Charge, the Center of Healing Arts, Recovery, Guidance, and Empowerment. We almost immediately changed that G from guidance to growth, because in that environment, in that growth environment, people just grow on their own when you are allowed to them. And so Charge, and the recovery band, since then we've been working with the Rackham Symphony Orchestra, for instance. We have a new project that's called the Roy Brooks Project, where we're working with people in the community to honor a musician who also had mental illness and substance abuse. His name was Roy Brooks. But we're working with the community. But the main thing that I would like to say is when Alex first asked me to come up here and talk and to be a part of this whole conference, I'm going like, wow, why are you guys asking me? Don't you know who I am? And so I realized I still have stigma against myself. That hurts, because I thought I had accomplished, I thought I had gotten over that. But I still don't feel good about myself. But when you work with us in an honest, open fashion, and you really, really care, like the people at MADCP do, it might take a little while for us to get used to the idea that somebody actually cares, because of the system that we've been working with, we've been dealing with 10, 15, 20 years, has not been nice. So when somebody nice comes along, all I ask, keep being nice, okay? We love you, we need a lot of love, okay? And just be nice to us, and we'll come along, and I guarantee you, you will be surprised at what we will accomplish. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joe. I've been with the sobriety court for about 18 months, and every time I went to a party or something like that, I would have to stop, get a bottle and drink on the way to the party just to start feeling good. So when I was at the party, I didn't have, I didn't have to play catch up. You know what I'm saying? And it was like I had, I was mean to everybody. I didn't talk to nobody. I always kept my personal problems to myself. And then when I got in trouble here, and I had to go to the Novi courts and all that stuff, and two people in the courtroom that helped me in my life was Judge McKenzie and Alex Black, and I got that little kid back inside of me again. It's been almost 2 years now since I had a drink, and I had a desire not to drink anymore, even after I'm done with this. So, like I said, I got that little boy back in me again. I'm laughing, I'm having fun. I'm a professional drummer. I played with Mitch Ryder. I played with the Funk Brothers. I sat and did some stuff with the Contours from the Motown group, and I realized that when I was drinking, I thought I was doing a good job playing until I heard the recordings. And I goes, oh my God, it really sucks, you know? And so after I stopped the drinking, I start singing better, I start playing better, and I worked at Rouge Steel down in Dearborn. I retired in 2004. I had 31 years in there. And then I started playing music right after that. I just kept doing that professionally. That was, I've played almost for 40 years. And like I said, I'm doing everything so much better. Everything so much, God's in my life, and I feel so much, I'm proud of myself for what I accomplished. And with the help of Judge McKenzie, he kind of, we got off at the wrong, we were kind of hated each other at the beginning of this stuff, but he turned out to be one heck of a guy, and the reason why I say that is that he cares about the person that comes through his courtroom. He lets you know that he's there for you to help you. He wants to see you walk out of his courtroom a different person, a better person. And I thank him so many times for this, and I thank you again, Judge McKenzie, for all the stuff he did for me. And if you guys give him a hand, he's been great. And my probation officer, Alex, she's helped me through this stuff too, and she's been like a best friend to me. We keep in contact with each other, even though I see her once a month. I still call her a couple of times and just tell her I'm doing well and all that stuff. You know, everything is doing great. My family, my kids are proud of me. My parents are proud of me. And like I said, I'm just a different person, and I love the person I'm in. I am now. And the thing is that I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing, and the alcohol is gone, and I won't have to drink anymore. I don't need to drink anymore. I don't want to drink anymore. And other than that, I thank you guys all. And just want to let you know, my band, The Next Level Detroit, will be playing here at 5:30 tonight, so come and see us. So thank you very much, everybody.
Hello, my name's Jeb, and I'm very pleased and proud to be here. And I didn't know about this until about 6 months ago, and I must say I'm very moved emotionally in a positive way by the power of the work that you all do, and I'm grateful to each and every one of you for helping alcoholics and addicts, both active and in recovery. Appreciate you very much. I was reading this book. I got here a little bit early, and it has a lot of interesting facts and information that I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. One thing it doesn't mention as a risk factor is being a musician. And of course, we're all aware that's a risk factor. For me, I knew at a very young age that I was passionate about music. And I used alcohol and drugs in my teens and my early 20s to alleviate the boredom of rehearsing for 6 to 10 hours a day, day after day for years on end. And it worked quite well early on, and of course, later on didn't work so well. And I actually quit drinking 15 years ago, miraculously without any kind of a program or treatment. I was also doing large amounts of drugs at the time. I knew I was killing myself. And I had kids, young kids, and I quit for them and for me and for my wife. And had a brief relapse about 8 years ago, probably because I never got in a program or treatment originally. And then I had my final recovery about 6 years ago. And at that time, it was a lower bottom than the first time, and because I was arrested for charges, possession of controlled substances, etc. And I got in treatment, got in a 12-step program, and was fortunate enough to have the judge throw out the charges because I was walking the straight and narrow and doing what I needed to do to stay clean and sober. And I found after a while that I didn't think the 12-step program was my cup of tea, and I don't want to portray it in a negative light because I think for most people it's a very good thing, but I just saw things and experienced things there that I didn't think were helping me. And around the same time, I had a disc jockey business, and someone asked me to volunteer to provide my service at a Relay for Life. And I enjoyed that a great deal, and one of the steps is about giving back. And community volunteering now has become my program of sorts to maintain my recovery. And I now participate in multiple Relays for Life every year. I now often sing the national anthem, or I sing an original music composition called You Are a Survivor. It's about my mom and my wife's best friend that are both breast cancer survivors. When I realized that the relay was helping me with my recovery, I also realized, of course, it's only for a month out of the year. So I started volunteering at a homeless shelter, and ironically, I became the person that chaired the meeting, the 12-step meeting at the homeless shelter. So here I was doing what I had tried to escape from, but I found that this particular involvement was working for me, and was very gratified to see that homeless people that came to the meetings soon often found a place to live. So it was working for them too, and I'm very grateful that I was able to help some of those people. Now I also ring the bell for the Salvation Army, and I can't get enough community volunteering. It's really helping me stay on the straight and narrow. My most recent thing is I perform at senior homes, singing and playing piano and doing my version of the Great American Songbook, which is old standards and show tunes. And again, I'm very, very pleased to be here. And I have to say, and I probably already have said it, I'm very moved emotionally in a positive way by the power of what you do. And the great thing about my recovery is for 15 years I didn't feel anything, and now I feel emotions incredibly strong, and it's a wonderful feeling. Thanks a lot.
I'm like Kristen Chenoweth. I don't do podiums because you can't see me behind them. My name is Deborah Garrett, and I'm a person in long-term recovery. And what that means to me is that I have not used alcohol or other drugs since November of 2000. Thank you very much. And I am here because when I was stopped and charged with my third DUI conviction back in 1999, my case was adjudicated in 2000. The judge who adjudicated my case gave me the opportunity to go back into treatment as opposed to incarcerating me for 30 days. My story could have ended much differently than it did. I would have come out of the prison system with a record, no driver's license, and if I had been working in any other work environment other than for my parents, I would have had no job. Today, I graduate in 6 weeks with my associate's degree in psychology. Thank you very much. I am a community educator through community assessment, referral, and education through CARE in Fraser. Facilitate groups for women and work with the prevention coalitions. I am also the chairperson of, the vice chair of the organizing committee that plans to celebrate recovery events during the month of September, and actually went to Washington, D.C. and received an award for our 2010 event in Washington, D.C. last year. And I can't help but mention this among my many other jobs. I am also the administrative assistant for the Michigan Association of Alcoholism and Drug Abuse Counselors. So, yay, guys. My philosophy on arts, I too sang professionally. My drinking career began in a bar. My parents opened up a nightclub. When I was 16 years old, I got involved in the band, began singing professionally. That's how my drinking career started. My philosophy on the arts and recovery is that you can take the most socially unacceptable subject and wrap it in art, and people will pay attention to that message. People will hear your message. And I'm a very strong advocate. I'm the technical advisor to Greater Macomb Project Fox, which is a recovery advocacy group in Macomb County. And I'm a theater producer. We have produced several plays to raise awareness regarding the subject of recovery and sexual and domestic trauma against women. And we have also done, this will be our second year, April 10th, we're doing our second art exhibit at the City of Warren, at the offices at the City of Warren. I have produced poetry readings and slam poetry nights, all as a part of September Recovery Month events. So I believe that the arts can contribute tremendously, not only to someone's personal recovery, but to helping reduce that stigma and to helping spread the message that people can and do recover. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Adam Thibodeau. I'm a person in recovery and I'm an artist. Today is actually my 6th year sobriety date. Yes, I got sober on Friday the 13th. And usually when you're at a 12-step convention, they always shout back, "How'd you do it?" Well, a big part of how I did it was art. A little bit about what my art looked like before my recovery was that I never really knew how to express myself, how to express my emotions, my thoughts, and stuff going on, and art was a major tool for that. I used to use my art. I've been an artist since I was 5 years old, and back in the 80s, they didn't have washable markers. So, I'd be graffitiing on my mom's wall and stuff like that. And I carried that on in the high school, doing graffiti and stuff of that nature. And the thing is that you're not going to practice very well of what you're trying to do if you're constantly looking over your back and stuff like that. When I got into recovery, I was able to do it in an open space and go, wow, I'm not going to get in trouble for this. There's actually a big movement in I am an intern in Southwest Detroit community organizing, and art is a major tool to bring community together in Springwell, Southwest Detroit, and there's a big movement of changing street artists into getting them connected to the DIA so that they can actually sharpen and practice their art skills. When I got sober and I got clean, the 12 steps required a certain amount of searching and moral inventory, and art was a major way that I was able to look on paper and draw out a picture and go, oh wow, look at that, me in the past and me in the future. And art was a major tool and source of empowerment for me. I'm the one who designed the poster here, and if you see this poster here, that was actually a group project I did at my rehab center where I went to Joann's Fabrics. I'm also a scrapbooker, all right? And that's right, scrapbookers are artists too, all right? I went to Joann's Fabrics and I bought big sheets of white paper and I put them on the wall and I said, I want everybody here to put their little snippet of what the road to recovery looks like. So a major chunk of what you're seeing here are what the program participants at Solutions to Recovery imagined their road to recovery. And I think that's the other great thing that art does is it brings community. I know when I was in rehab, we started a chain poem where I would start writing something and we'd pass it on, and go, wow, we got a sense of where we were different and how much we had in common. And that's what this project did 2 months ago. The clients also asked if I was getting paid for it, and I was like, yes, and so I bought them pizza for the next month. So, but yeah, And when I was getting sober, I designed a lot of pamphlets for AA conventions, flyers. I was always a big fan of 60s rock posters. So a lot of times the AA flyers would look like, 60s. I still practice art on a daily basis. It's a big part of who I am. And I remember being in rehab center, and instead of writing a group response sheet, I used to just draw a picture. And I got some counselors upset with me over that, but luckily there was a counselor that understood me and where I was coming from and actually encouraged that part of me, and didn't look at it as a form of me like graffitiing a piece of paper. Said, wow, what does this say? Can you talk to me about this? And because of that, because somebody recognized the power of that, I was able to continue on with that. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for having me.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kirk Latimer, and I'm one half of a performance duo known as Kinetic Effect. My performance and business partner is over there, chillaxing against the wall. I'm incredibly blessed. I don't want to tell you too much of my story because we're going to do a performance tomorrow afternoon, and I don't want to double up on you. A large part of what we perform is also our life story. But we've had a lot of excellent and beautiful opportunities. I mean, we travel the nation doing what we do. We just came back from Washington, D.C. We have been on America's Got Talent. David Hasselhoff is not my best friend. Right, Gabriel? Right. And, we've been to the Apollo. We've had some beautiful opportunities. But I have to be honest in saying that there are still days when I wake up and I look in the mirror and I still don't always like what I see. And I do have a past with drugs and a history of violence and self-hate. But really, the drugs wasn't so much on the use end. Although I used plenty, I had a lot of somehow discipline and some genetic makeup that kept me from latching onto it in a way that my friends did. But I was a provider. And I have lost a lot of people in my life. Far too many. Actually, one of my best friends from high school just got out of prison after an 11-year stint. He now has a swastika tattooed on his neck. I have an angel wing on my shoulder. But we're the same man. We just ended up in different places. And I have to tell you that I spent a majority of my life hiding who I really was. I left high school and I tried to bury that old self. But the truth is that it was still there. A part of that monster, a part of that person that I absolutely despised would never, ever go away. And what my art, I'm a poet, by the way. I know, smart job choice to become a full-time poet, right? Doing poetry enabled me to come to terms with that part of myself. Because I used to think the scars that I had made me ugly. We all do that sometimes. But the truth is that if we can be vulnerable and allow ourselves to share those scars with someone else, whether it's through writing or poetry or art or painting or singing or whatever it might be, we will discover that it is our scars that make us beautiful. Thank you.
My name is Gabriel Jerome. I'm the other half of Kinetic Effect. When I was 7 years old, I grew up in New York, and my parents started to go through a divorce. My mother was from Kalamazoo, and over the course of the next 4 years, I went to 4 different schools. And so at a young age, I learned very quickly that I had to keep people at bay. Even though I was a very sensitive kid growing up, I learned that every person that would come into my life, I would lose. And so I started to create this alternative persona. And I became very externally unapproachable. And I ended up going to a school in Kalamazoo that had about 12 minorities out of about 1,200 people. And I then started to learn very quickly that the color of my skin dictated how people would view me, that the fact that I had tattoos would make people instantly judge me, and instead of trying to convince other people that that was not true, I decided to embrace it. And I started to become somebody who I wasn't. All the while, I was secretly writing. And the paper became my only outlet, my only way to really be able to get out the things that I felt. In my senior year of high school, I got voted class bully and class poet of my high school. And it was because I really had petitioned to be voted class bully. I got in like 3 fights from 5th grade to my senior year of high school, so it wasn't that I was really bullying anybody, but I just made it apparent that I was not approachable. And drugs, when I got into high school, quickly became one of those other escapes for me. It became a way for me to get lost and not have to deal with everything that I had to encounter on a daily basis. And the people that I was hanging out with wanted to escape too. So it was easy. It was easy to fall into that, and it was easy to do that. And I also started selling drugs when I was in high school. And I did not have a judge that I had to come face to face with, but I did have an assistant principal who took an alternative route with me. I had gotten to a point my senior year of high school where I had stolen a $3,000 scale from the science department in order to weigh and sell drugs. And the assistant principal found out and called me into his office and confronted me about it, and of course I denied it. And then he told me that the last thing, after about a half-hour conversation, he said, listen, if I don't find out who took the scale, I have to turn over all the evidence I have to the police. And because it's more than $500, it will be grand larceny, and they will take appropriate measures. I said, so I'm going to ask you again one more time, do you know anything about it? And I confessed, and he told me to bring the scale to school tomorrow, the next day, and I did. And he told me to leave it in my car and come to his office, and I did. And he told me to go out to my car, and he pulled his truck around, and he opened the door from the inside, and he said, put the scale on the seat. And I did. And he looked at me and he said, how'd that get there? And I said, I don't know. And he said, neither do I. Shut the effing door. And I did. And he didn't suspend me. He didn't give me a detention, but what he did do was he made me come in and talk to him and check in with him periodically. And we grew to have this relationship where I was very open and honest with him, and he was one of the few people I could confide in. And every time I see him, I thank him, because I was able to kind of let go of all that stuff right before I graduated, and I ended up enlisting in the military. And I found myself overseas in Germany, and I won't get too deep into the story, but I ended up being diagnosed with cancer when I was 18 years old. And because I was in the military, they covered about $500,000 worth of medical bills. And if he would have turned that information over to the police, I would have never been able to get into the military, and I certainly would either be dead or broke or both. And it became a pivotal point in my life to understand that people need second chances, that they need to understand that there are mistakes that we all go through and we all make. And what I do now with my business and performance partners, we've co-founded a nonprofit organization called Speak It Forward Incorporated, and we go into juvenile homes and we go into treatment facilities and we teach through the art of spoken word that you can express yourself. And I think, like all the speakers did, they all talked about finding a way to express themselves. And there's this beautiful quote by Albert Einstein, and it says, everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by how well he scales a tree, he'll grow up his whole life thinking he's an idiot. And I think that is the beautiful part about art, is that people who feel like they have no outlet, they have no understanding of who they are or what they can do, can find a way to express themselves and feel talented, whether it's through expressing themselves through painting or dancing or singing or writing or any of that. And to be able to have an opportunity to combine the court systems with being able to help people really express themselves, because
addicts are not necessarily bad people. We're just trying to figure out a way to feel better, I think is a beautiful thing. So I want to thank you all very much for being here, and I really appreciate being able to be a part of this, and I look forward to performing for you guys, and thank you so much.
Thanks to all of you. That's an inspiration for all of us, and we really appreciate your willingness to participate today. We do have about a 15-minute break before our next session.